Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today I have another developer interview for you today. I'm speaking with Tim, aka RhapsodyInGeek of Blue Key Games. Tim, how's it going, man?
Fine enough, I guess.
Well, thanks for joining me this evening. I really appreciate it. You're working on a couple of projects. I know that you have a game on Steam called They Came from Dimension X, which everybody, by the way, there is a demo out there. I recommend you go check it out. But today, Tim, if you don't mind, I would like to stick to talking about Quake Champions Classic, a Quake 1 mod that you're working on. I've been lucky enough to play with you and a bunch of some Quake guys, and that was a blast. So I want to pick your brain about that. But before we go into that, why don't you just tell me, or tell the viewers, I should say, what Quake Champions Classic is?
So, Quake Champions Classic is a mod for Quake 1 that aims to recreate the gameplay mechanics of Quake Champions. It was done as sort of a series of exercises for me, game development exercises, to see how quickly I could iterate and quickly create things, and also to just learn more about Quake 1 in order to see if I could apply that knowledge to any of my other projects.
As somebody who's played Quake Champions, it makes Quake feel really fresh, and I think that, to me, that was the most exciting thing about it. Quake Champions, the game, it kind of brought that classic deathmatch feel, and then it had this new element with the heroes aspect to it, and now you're doing it for classic Quake, which is pretty epic. Are you yourself a big Quake Champions player?
I am not very good at it, but yes, I do play an unhealthy amount of Quake Champions.
Well, what about your gaming background? What games did you grow up playing? What games have influenced you and kind of shaped you as a developer? And did you grow up playing classic shooter games?
I grew up playing a little bit of everything, is really what it came down to. My first PC that I ever built was with my father, was a Windows 95 machine. PC gave me my super defined love for the FPS genres and the horror genres. The big ones were, for me, surprisingly not Doom. My first big one was actually Quake. Dark Forces, the first one, Dark Forces, incredibly influential on me. And one of the biggest ones, which I will praise on in every interview that I get, Aliens vs. Predator, first one on a PC. That is what cemented just the idea of what FPS games could be.
If you had to pick one, what would be your favorite game of all time?
I actually can't pick one. I can't pick at all. It depends on a lot of factors, really. Genre depends on what I'm feeling at the moment. If
No, that's
you
fair.
were to ask me the games that I played the most so far in all my life, the games that I have the most hours in are AVP 3. My number one most played game of all time is Star Wars Galaxies. At this point, number 3 is probably Quake Champions.
Well, it's always interesting just to hear kind of the different influences that people have that kind of help shape their gaming development careers, so to speak. So for you, you're obviously creating the Quake Champions Classic mod. We talked about how you've got some games in the work with Blue Key Games, you and your team there. Are you a self-taught modder / developer? What's your game development background?
I am actually completely self-taught insofar as I looked up, free tutorials and did a whole lot of practice and just kind of, I read up on it, but I didn't get any formal training or formal schooling.
Well, what did you start with? Did you start with older games, just tinkering around with those? You've obviously have some experience with Trench Broom. You just sent me some screenshots of a map you're working on. You got some background in some of these programs. Where did it all kind of kick off for you?
So when I was much younger, way back in the 90s, the first game I ever worked on was this little shitty platformer with my father. He helped program it, and I did the level editing and things, and did all the graphics and such in MS Paint and such. They were just stick figures, and it was, a kid making a game with his dad. But after that, it went on from things like I actually never got into Quake modding back then, surprisingly. Instead, I went straight to probably the worst thing to try to learn how to mod, which was the first AVP game. I must have been one of the first, 4 people or something to release a map for the game. Those tools were awful. I've been playing around with them recently, getting back into that, and it's just terrible. Just terrible.
Is Quake Champions Classic kind of the first real full production mod that you've kind of kicked off everything with? I know that you said that it's kind of like your instrument, if you will, for practicing for your more professional game projects like Dimension X.
Yeah, Quake Champions Classic is the first like full-on big mod that I've done. I only before that I only ever released that one map for AVP back in 2000.
You know, you're obviously, like we've said, self-taught. Most people who play around with Trench Broom are self-taught. Have you mapped for Quake before you started working on Quake Champions Classic?
Yes and no. Trench Broom I did not learn until 2 years ago was when I started. I learned Trench Broom in order to make They Came from Dimension X.
What's your final vision for the mod in terms of champions? I mean, I'm assuming you're going to want to add all the champions from Quake Champions into your classic version. But if you don't mind sharing, do you have any of these like different outlier champions from other games you hope to be able to put into your game as well?
The most requested one is V1 from Ultra Kill. I do have a champion design for him, but I'm not quite ready to do that. Another one I want to do is the champion from Medieval. I'm not trying to make it New Blood Champions, but oh my god, Medieval is so fucking good.
Yeah, Medieval's an amazing game. You gotta,
And
if you're gonna put a
yeah,
New Blood character in, it's got to be the champion.
there is a secret one that I can tell you after the interview, but I don't wanna say it without being able to commit to it because I don't know if I can do it. I probably can, but
Fair enough.
so for Quake Champions Classic, my rules to kind of keep me focused is either id Software characters, so they owned by id Software, not Bethesda, not Microsoft, but id Software. So that's why Commander Keen gets in. The other avenue for getting in is just being important to FPS gaming history.
I haven't played Quake Champions since they just patched it, but I just noticed that they added a passive for Sorlag where she can wall climb now. Have you played since that was added? And
So
will you put it in your game?
it looks absolutely wild. I have no idea how to do it right now. Like I've got maybe some little inklings of it, but I haven't looked into it yet. So my objective is to try and match it as closely as I can with the live game.
So you've got a bunch of champions. You've got a bunch more planned. Now you're starting to work on maps. Hopefully some other mappers will come along and help you as well. You also have the railgun in the game, which I found to be really cool and really interesting that you got the railgun working. And I know you also have some of the other unique weapons from the expansion packs of Quake also working as well. Do you have plans for any other unique weapons that you might throw into the game or anything like that?
I've thought about adding I was actually thinking about it earlier today, adding both the machine gun and the tri-bolt to the game. I wasn't going to go outside of the Quake weapons for like your standard arsenal. So pretty much just going to be those. I have no plans to add the multi-rocket weapons or the lava nails or anything from Dissolution of Eternity. I just didn't find them very balanced or fun, and they aren't needed to complete the Dissolution of Eternity campaign, whereas the proximity gun is required for the normal means of getting into a secret level, so I felt more inclined to add that to the game.
Gotcha. Going back to champions real quick one more time. This is a question for me personally. Mm-hmm. Have you considered Turok as a champion?
I absolutely have.
Awesome. Because that to me, I feel like Turok doesn't get enough love, from these other champion-based games that I've seen, like Doom Edition, for example. They put in Duke Nukem, they put in the Intruder, they even put in the guy from Bulletstorm, which I didn't really personally understand that one, but Turok needs some love, in my humble opinion.
Yes, and that's not even just like a personal opinion. He is objectively important to video game history insofar as I can't remember if it was the first person shooter on the N64 or if GoldenEye was. I think it was Turok. And
So
then they
GoldenEye was released in August 1997. Turok was released in February 1997. So Turok came first.
Okay, yep. So I'm pretty sure it was the first person shooter on the N64. I can't be positive though.
If time and money were not a factor for you, what type of game do you think you'd build?
There are two specific games. One of them is one I'm actively working on. The other one is one that I'm passively working on. The one I'm actively working on is They Came from Dimension X. That is the game I would be making anyway. The difference would be if money was no issue, I would hire a team to help me make the game look great. You know, high-end, high-fidelity models and levels and things. The other game that I am passively working on that I would be less passively working on if time and money, especially money, were not a factor, is a RPG game that there's a prologue sort of demo on itch that you can download, but it's kind of I plan on doing a lot of cool, crazy things with it, like unique storytelling things that kind of tie into video game like console history. So just kind of the transitionary years between uh, like 16-bit RPGs and 32-bit RPGs and such. But yeah, so that's the other game that I would be working on.
As somebody who's met you recently, Tim, I've really enjoyed getting to know you. Thank you so much for this interview as well. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Quake Champions Classic. I'll be following that. I'll be following your other projects as well. I gotta admit to you, I played Dimension X. This is just for me personally. I got really motion sick with the way it was twisting and stuff. I struggled there, but that's just like a personal issue. I think. I don't think that has anything to do with
You're not the only
the
one who's
game.
got motion sick. Admittedly, there isn't much of a way around that. I've just kind of settled with the fact that some folks are just going to get motion sick with that game, and that's just the kind of game it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you have a vision. You said it's the game that you want to make. You have a vision for it. I really like the retro style of it. I played the demo. I thought it looked great. I could see the Quake influence, and I think that that's a really good thing. When it comes to that, you have nothing to worry about. That was just my only personal issue, and like I said, it was a personal thing. I don't think it has anything to do with your game. It was just for me. So the point I'm making, though, is I'm still going to be following it. I'm still going to be following your stuff. And everybody listening, you should be following it too. I'm going to put your links in the video description, a link to Blue Key Games Discord, a link to your Twitter. Is there anything else that you would like the listeners, the watchers here to be cognizant of? Anything that you want to make them aware of that we might have not have covered in the interview?
I guess if you want to contribute to the project, to the Quake Champions Classic project, you can always hit me up on Discord or Twitter. The entire source, so all of the Blender files for all the models, all of the sounds, the MDLs, all of the code for it, all of that is actually, and the map files. So even the Crucible, which I'm working on right now, the map file itself is actually available. All of those files are available on GitHub. So if you wanted to, you can poke around the Quake Champions Classic files and see how I pulled all of this stuff off. And if you're interested in contributing to it, reach out to me. I love working with other people.
Awesome, Tim. Well, thank you. That was Tim here, RhapsodyInGeek, Blue Key Games. Has a lot of amazing projects. Again, in the video description, I'll have a bunch of links for you guys to go check it all out. I'm really glad that he mentioned how you can contribute to the Quake Champions Classic project. When we were doing a play test, he mentioned how he wants people to come in and figure out how to add champions into the mod. So that would be really cool if anybody out there wants to start learning how to mod Tim, thanks again so much for spending your time with me this evening. I really appreciate it. I'll let you get back to the mapping project you were working on before we started chatting, and hopefully we can do a follow-up interview down the road, maybe when you have some more stuff or when we can talk about Dimension X more.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that interview. Please don't forget to check the video description for the various links. And if you're interested in playing Quake Champions Classic, please join Blue Key Games' Discord and try to find some people to play with in there. Don't forget to like this video, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm SaltyOctopus, and I will see you next time. Happy fragging!